Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring SLA Industries 2nd edition, the core rulebook. In this part of the review, we are going to take a look at the character creation process. There's going to be an overview of the entire process, and I'm going to talk about some of the species and subspecies that you can choose to create your character. If you haven't seen the other parts of this review, please check out the playlist in the description below. So, character creation. In SLA Industries, each player assumes the role of an operative. These characters are the personas that will represent the players as they venture into the world of progress, of course. Building an SLA operative is easy to do, needing little more than a character sheet, a pencil, and your imagination. Certainly, you need to follow 10 steps to create your character. First, you select a species. Mord's population, while mostly human, is comprised of a large number of alien species, some of whom have been welcomed to the planet in return for their cooperation and employment. SLA Industries is very good at highlighting the strengths of a species and utilizing those skills to better the company's position. There are a total of 9 different species to choose from, each with their own physical, mental, and social limitations. Then you determine the stats. Each character possesses a number of stats that represent their core attributes and define how strong, fast, smart, sociable, and lucky they are. It is upon the foundation of these stats that a character is able to take shape. Players will assign a number of points to these stats during step 2 of this process. In the third step, we have ratings points. Ratings points are a limited resource possessed by all characters and reflect a character's sway with the ever-present media in Mord City. Ratings points also represent a character's confidence and bravado, allowing them to achieve the unachievable in the direst of circumstances. During this step, players will assign a number of ratings points to each of the 3 categories: body, brain, and bravado. Next we have skills. Skills work in conjunction with stats and represent the specialization of the character. This step is broken into a few smaller steps which involve applying those skills which are inherent to a specific species, choosing a training package for the operative, and then spending a pool of points to further increase existing skills or round off a character's learning with new skills. Then we have traits. This is step 5. Some characters are fortuitous, as having friends in high places or savings squirreled away for rainy days. Some may even have additional physical edges, such as exceptional hearing, or they may be ambidextrous. At the same time, many characters will also have aspects about them which may be considered disadvantages, such as a phobia, illness, or an arch-enemy lurking in the shadows. These aspects are covered by traits, and players are free to apply these bonuses and penalties during this step 5. In step 6, it's all about hit points. This is the step in the process where the players determine and calculate the hit points of their characters. Hit points are a measure of how much physical damage a character can take before being critically wounded. Hit points are affected by a character's species and their physical statistics. Then we have movement. Movement is simply the measure of how far and fast a character can move. During this step, a character records their movement values based upon the species they have selected and how athletic the character is. Step 8 is encumbrance. Encumbrance is underpinned by the physicality of a character and is a measure of how much weight they can carry without penalty. A character with a high encumbrance value is able to carry more equipment during the game without suffering harm or exhaustion. Then we have equipment. During step 9, the player character will record all the default starting equipment provided to the operative following completion of their basic training. Each character will then be able to spend an amount of additional money on purchasing weapons, armor, and gear of their choosing in order to get their character street ready. SLA Industries authorizes the use of a large range of armaments from a huge range of manufacturers, all available to any operative who can afford the price tag. Step 10, the final step, is finishing touches. This step consists of injecting life into the operative. During this step, the player will be able to dig into the background and history of their characters. They give them a name, purpose, passion, and decide exactly what makes them tick. Step 10 is purely creative and is there for players to embellish as much as they please. Once all 10 steps have been followed, the character creation process is complete and the operative will be ready to undertake their first VPN. Now let's go further into details concerning these steps. First we have select a species. The first thing a player must consider when building a character is the species that they wish to play as. SLA Industries employs a large spectrum of species, both alien and more familiar, each for the different attributes they bring to the operative role. From the fast, agile Wraithen to the diplomatic Neofron, a species' characteristics, strengths and weaknesses will play a big part in defining what type of character the player creates. In addition to the different personalities, stats and skills that come with selecting a character species, each species also possesses unique species-specific abilities that set them apart. So let's talk about these species. First we have humans, of course. If you play as a human, you are one amongst billions of humans living on planet Mort. Raised and abused by the streets of inner downtown, you have seen it all through unflinching eyes. By the time you have reached the meager age of 8, you watch the sibling be slowly eaten alive by Mort rats, a childhood friend dragged into the notorious skin trade, never to be seen again. You've heard the scrape of a manshine's blade at the door to your apartment as you huddled in a corner of the living room with your sobbing father clutching you tight. You played with your toys by your bedroom window and watched a teenage gang member get torn to shreds by a pack of carrion. So you raised a plastic SLA up figurine and fired in the direction of the feasting monsters because this is what you want to be. It's all you've ever wanted to be, an operative recruited by SLA Industries. It was tougher for you, being a mere human. As a child, you learned to blend in with the crowd, but now that plays against you. Still just one amongst billions. Not that it is all bad. As a human being, you are highly adaptable and versatile. Other species are destined for greatness, but the great majority fail. Stormers who believed they could take on Digger and got reduced into bloody chunks they could not possibly regenerate from, or Shacktars who were blown apart for attempting to bring the noble art of swordplay to a gunfight, and who could forget the Ebonites reduced to gibbering wretches when their emotions entangled with the Xi'an horrors or were consumed by the Momics. The mighty rise and the mighty will fall. No one is perfect. Least of all, a human being. But at least humans know what to expect when they take to the streets of downtown in nothing but body blocker armor and a shitty 603. You are whatever you are needed to be in the moment. Caring and compassionate, cunning and ruthless, often very ruthless. You join your new squad and suffer the usual snide comments and the shifty glances. They are already wondering how long you can possibly last, but you have all kinds of surprises in store for these clowns. When it comes to the background of a human, humans can adhere and adapt to almost any situation or setback and bounce back from whatever hardship SLA Industries can throw at them. The human species has a tendency towards racism and bigotry, far more so than any other species in the world of progress, which likely stems from its population majority on Mort and throughout the world of progress. Alarmingly, more humans join cults and become serial killers than any other species in the world of progress. Humans are easy to corrupt. And this is also very true, even within the company itself, of course. Humans are keen to take positions in administration and the corporate sector, where those with low morals can accrue enormous wealth. Still, it is believed that humans are neither greedy nor self-serving in their very natures, but it is drawn out of them far more easily than other species, especially once they join SLA Industries. The newly arriving Neofronts find the human species the most fascinating. The majority of the species they encounter can usually be figured out quite quickly, but this is simply not the case with humanity. When it comes to appearance, human physiognomy is similar to that of Ebonites. There is a great amount of diversity in terms of skin tone, facial structure, and musculature, which is based on genetics and planetary location. Hair and eye color are also widely varied. A noticeable human feature is the development of irises and pupils, which dilate and constrict in reaction to sudden changes in light. Human skin is thin and flexible and damages easily. Humans can rapidly increase muscle mass through rigorous exercise, but will lose definition and gain weight far quicker than other species if they neglect physical activity. The lifespan of a human in the world of Mort is recorded between 70 to 80 years, but this is considerably less if the human is a civilian, owing to air pollution and malnutrition. Now let's talk about the species-specific abilities of humans. You have adaptable. Humans are the most adaptable species on Mort, and as a result, are the most prominent as SLA operatives. At the end of character creation, a human character may select any 2 skills that they do not already possess and gain them both at rank 1. Additionally, human characters pay 1 experience point less than the usual cost to increase their skills during downtime sessions. When it comes to sociable, while many are not, the vast majority of humans are naturally sociable creatures, with a natural flair for communication, particularly with other humans. To reflect this, a human character receives a +1 modifier to the success die for all diplomacy and persuasion rolls when dealing with other humans. Then we have the Frothers. This is a subspecies of the human species. If you choose to play as a Frother, you are being forced to listen to a final lecture on the dangers of downtown before you board the train to Mort City. You completed training, mostly, and you're ready to become a respectable, upstanding SLA operative. Technically, you're already an operative, but there's a few more boring hoops you have to jump through before you tool up, papers to sign, a round of immunization injections to go through, and of course, this mind-numbing presentation. You herald from Heveria, and sure, you miss home. You miss the bitter winds and proper strong beer, not the piss water they've been forcing you to drink in many. You want to get back home at some point, but mostly you're just eager to get into Mort City, buy your up equipment, and get stuck into those downtown carrion. The video is telling you that they are these vicious killers. That's hilarious. You're the vicious killer, and in about 24 hours you hope to be teaching that very fact to the dog boys. The starting pay ain't so great. You can't get the signature Frother hard armor yet. Too expensive. But you can at least get your hands on a flesh-slicing power claimer. That's the ticket. Then there's all the lovely drugs. Oh, the wondrous, mind-altering narcotics that's already got you scratching your veins in anticipation. You heard about mind-blowing Blaze UV, and that you go to a whole nother level on that shit, which sounds utterly awesome to you. The man in the video is trying to put the frighteners on you about machines now, but you're not really paying attention to any more of this guff. You're a Frother. You weren't meant to sit still or blend in. You weren't meant to listen. You were meant to be a drug-addled fighting machine, and you fully intend to make both your Hevernian clan and SLA Industries proud by being the loudest, meanest, most sunked-out, nut-job fighting machine in the whole world of progress. When it comes to your background, the name Frother is derived from the operative's tendency to salivate and drool like a rabid dog whilst under the influence of SLA-manufactured combat drugs like Rush and Ultra-Violence, or UV. The Frother is something of an oddity amongst the gallery of operative types. They may have begun as a human classification and served some sort of noble purpose, but over the centuries, the Frothers have warped into the berserkers of the operative roster, a career path they have thoroughly embraced. Few other species will adopt the particular somewhat suicidal approach of the Frother. Only the people of Heveria would actively choose to assume the mantle and profession of Frother. Frothers are widely acknowledged as little more than combat drug junkies, but in reality, it is a little more complicated than that. The addictive personality of the Frother permeates all aspects of his being, going far beyond straightforward drug use. If anything, the Frother is addicted to adrenaline produced by risk more than anything else. He will not hesitate to throw himself into life-threatening situations where he is grossly outnumbered or outgunned. Frothers never truly relax. Their perpetual motion is constantly driven by the need for more challenges, more mayhem, more fun. The moment a Frother wakes from unconsciousness, it's time for a quick beer or dose to take the edge off. Then it's a trip down to the local bar for an all-day booze session or a metaphorical roll of the dice at the dodgy VPN terminal, which will hopefully lead to the meanest, most hazardous mission that will invariably lead to death or another night blowing the VPN payment at the pit. The exact evolution of the species, from human to Frother, continues to baffle SLA Industries. For countless generations, Frother families have injected copious doses of company narcotics until it seeped into their genetic code. Their children have dependency towards the pharmaceuticals of their parents, but instead of making them frailer, the long-running culture of drug use has only made the Frothers stronger and hardier. The vast majority of Frothers employed by SLA originate from the country of Heveria, which lies to the northeast of Mort City. It has a clan-built culture, and owing to the rowdy nature of the Frothers, there is a lot of infighting between the numerous families. This, of course, breeds the hardiest stock, and SLA Industries only want the best that the clans have to offer. However, it is important to note that clans such as Murdoch, Campbell, Macmillan, and McClung have allied with Dark Knights. Loyalist Frother clans are insistent that SLA assign any VPN missions involving the noted traitor clans to squads with at least one Frother. They regard it as a family affair and do not want to see any other species deliver justice to such traitors. It's theirs to deal with. When it comes to their appearance, Frothers are now classed as a unique species, separated from the originating human species. Over the centuries, the physiognomy of Frothers has changed. They are taller and have muscular builds that exceeds the limits of human anatomy. Their facial features have also altered over the generations. They have thicker brows and broad noses that set the eyes farther apart. Some may acknowledge that there are some physical similarities between Frother evolution and that found amongst the cannibal species out in the sector, but they aren't stupid enough to say that to a Frother directly. Frothers rarely step outside of the traditional outfits native to Heveria. Weapon choices and career paths that have defined their species for so long have become effectively their entire culture. They all sport the familiar colorful dreadlocks, facial war paint, DNA tattoos, and rough tartan fabrics. The patterns of such tartans are highly specific and denote the particular clan that the individual Frother is a member of. The favored weapon of all Frothers is the two-handed power claymore. It is a common among Frothers as the trademark drugs and flowing dreadlocks. If a Frother should, however, rise to the higher levels of SCL, they will mature and start to select hand-to-hand weapons that are tailored to their specific duties. And this is just the beginning of the species that you will see in SLA Industries. There are many more, and I will cover them all in the future parts of this review. So it is obvious that things will get quite monstrous. I hope you will watch the other parts of my review as well. Thank you for watching this part, and thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending Drive-Thru-RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.